G'day everyone and welcome to the GrainCorp Cunningar webinar. I'm Izzy Hutchinson, the Grower Services Manager for our Southern region based here in Wagga. I will be your host for the webinar this morning, which has been held in place of physical grower meetings for our Cunningar, Cootamundra, Maimaru, Greenthorpe, Noombina, Cowra and Nyrane Creek sites. 2020 has certainly been a big year for everyone and has posted plenty of challenges, but one positive has been the return of some decent rainfall across the East Coast. While it's an exciting time for the industry, there is certainly a lot riding on this crop, and we are not underestimating the importance of the crop and getting this crop off to generate some badly needed cash flow for our rural communities. No doubt, some topics discussed this morning will lead to further questions. You may have noticed that this session is equipped with a chat feature. I strongly encourage that you put forward any questions at any time that you have, and we will endeavour to answer them as we go. If we do not get to your question prior to the end of the webinar, then you can expect a call from our appropriate team member and they will discuss further. Given it's a busy time of the year, I will aim to wrap this up within the hour. So please understand we may not be able to drill down into every detail around every operation at every site. To kick this presentation off this morning, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you all to our local site managers.
Hi guys, I'm Jamie Asgill, the new site manager out at Cunningar. This year will be my first harvest. This year we'll be using the new rail outload system during harvest. Opening hours and close hours will be advised daily. If you have any inquiries, please call 0429 1900 19.
Hi everybody, my name's Steve White. I'm the site manager for Cowra. This year I'll be overseeing Nyrane Creek, Cowra, Noombina, Greenthorpe and Maimaru. Staff-wise, we're 100% recruited for all our sites. Open hours on sites will just be as needed. Any inquiries, please call me on 0427 125 968. Thank you.
Hopefully that provides you with an insight into who you'll see this coming harvest on our sites. I now want to take a moment to speak with Sean Barker, our General Manager for Customer and Commercial. Good morning, Sean, and thanks for joining us this morning. Can you give the audience an update as to what's been happening around GrainCorp over the last 12 months?
Yes, Izzy, and firstly, just like to thank all the growers for logging on this morning. So obviously the new format is going well, and thank you for taking the time. Just remind everyone again, any questions, please use that chat function there on the right-hand side. At GrainCorp, it's been a busy 12 months. We've emerged from our malt group overall, so United Malt Group now trades as a separate entity on the Australian Stock Exchange. What that means for GrainCorp is now we're set up as a more grains-focused business with basically zero core debt. So what that means for our growers is we'll be able to continue our investments, appropriate investments across our supply chain overall. With that demerger, we have a new CEO in Robert Spurway. So Robert started with the company basically on day one of the pandemic. He's done a very good job of getting across the business in the circumstances. Been lucky enough to travel through the Cunningar cluster, and I know he's looking forward to getting out there even more so during harvest. If we look back over 12 months and we go back to March, we did see this big crop planted early, and we knew it was going to take a lot to get our supply chain across our whole network set up again overall. So we focused in on three areas, our people, our machinery, and also our export markets. As Stephen just said there, it's very pleasing to see we've been able to recruit a lot of casual positions across the business. We've had over 3,000 positions filled, and we had over 6,000 applications for those positions. So a very good job across the company, and things look good for harvest at this point. On the machinery front, it's been very good to see 21 new stackers come into the network. They're deployed across the network, currently working up in northern New South Wales. So it's good to see that equipment in and working and running well. On the export markets, it's been good to connect back in with a lot of our export customers we haven't been there for them in a number of years, and with some strong demand showing, which we might touch on a little bit later overall. With all that, Izzy, of course, in all our planning, COVID's thrown some curveballs throughout, but one thing hasn't changed, and that's to make sure we have a safe and efficient site operations this harvest. That has meant we have changed the process with how you may interact with us at site. Craig, Warwick, Tim and Phil will run through that in more detail today. but just wanted to let you know those decisions were made in the context of keeping you safe and keeping the site efficient. So Izzy, we're quite excited with the potential of this crop. We're looking forward to getting into it and getting it in, and I'd just like to wish all our growers a safe and prosperous harvest ahead.
Brilliant. Thanks for that update, Sean. It sounds like there's been plenty going on and plenty of exciting things happening around the business. Can you give us an update, Sean, on what's happening with the Cunningham Levy and how we're tracking with that for the growers?
Yes, Izzy, the Cunningham Levy has been there for a number of years now. The pleasing thing is where we're looking at this year, this will be the last year of that levy throughout. So the deliveries this year will offset the amounts owing to either the Kruger Trust or GrainCorp overall. So really pleasing to see now we'll be able to get back and see the Cunningar site deliver that value directly back to growers overall. And we see our rail rates have dropped $10 at Cunningar. It's great. Our capacity to get trains now to port is actually double. We go from a 48-hour cycle to 24-hour cycle. That will, allow us to operate it and see great demand there to feed our Port Kembla port this year. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing those trains loaded in Cunningar and the final year of that levy for growers.
Brilliant. That's really pleasing to hear that there, Sean. And it probably is a good segue to my next question in regards to how things are, what's happening in the market. So we've seen the markets rally lately. How do you think this will play out once the headers start rolling and we start to see harvest move further south?
Probably the most common question I'm asked, Izzy, when we do grower meetings overall. Look, the short answer for everyone is I don't know. But I'm sure that's not going to satisfy everyone. I think we can take a look at probably what's driving the market and seeing, what that may lead to as we move forward. I'll look at price in three elements today, Izzy. I think if we look at it in a foreign currency exposure, we'll look at it as the supply and demand of the local crop and then what's happening globally to do that. So if we look at the Australian dollar relative to the US dollar, we've been having a trading range of about 70 cents to 74 cents. We have seen some volatility in that. I was only reading some market analysts 2 weeks ago saying it was likely we're going to go to 75 cents and above. Lo and behold, it's now back at 70 cents. So I think having any confidence around forecasting where that will go is difficult, especially when you overlay a US election, which is going to impact that going forward. Any 1 cent move in our currency is about $5 per metric tonne price change on that. So I suspect we are going to see continued volatility in the currency markets impacting that. On the local front of grain supply and demand, it is a big crop on the East Coast that we're looking at. So at times that's going to create different supply and demand elements that's going to impact pricing, whether that's as trains, storage capacities, different markets throughout. And as we're seeing now, as weather patterns come in through harvest, it's going to impact different qualities in terms of the pricing on that. So I suspect that's going to see some volatility as well. On the world market, sitting behind all that, there is very strong demand for our grain from Australia and especially from the East Coast. That's across all our commodities, wheat, barley and canola, with strong Asian demand for wheat and barley and very strong European demand for our canola. What that will mean, though, is we'll have to market our grain over a longer time period, towards 12 months. So the world market, what's happening in that market in 6 to 12 months' time starts to impact our price as we head into harvest. As an example, at the moment, the Russian values for spot are very strong, but we see those $20 lower into the July period. We're not sure if that will hold throughout, but that will start to impact the flat price that we see for our growers this harvest.
Lovely. Sounds like there's plenty happening in the market, and it's at this stage it's supported, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there, Sean. Now, I've got a question that's come in from the audience, and this is coming from John. John wants to know, Sean, you've been with GrainCorp for several years now. What is it that really excites you about this GrainCorp business?
Thanks for the question there, John. A lot of things excite me at GrainCorp overall, but when you pull it apart, I think it comes down to one thing, and that's the people. Overall, I've been lucky enough to be with GrainCorp for 13 years. I'm in a great role that lets me interact with growers, our buyers, our staff, everyone in the industry overall. So I think it's just a GrainCorp thing. I think it's an industry overall. It's definitely the people, the resilience, the adaptive nature of everybody overall. And that's been shown during COVID as we've all come together. So it's definitely the people, Izzy. It's getting to work with everyone every day. And, yeah, it's a pleasure to work for GrainCorp.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sean. It's really pleasing to hear that the people is what excites you, because that's definitely the thing that excites me, not just in this business, but also right across the ag industry. And it's the people that are willing to get in there and give you a hand to achieve the best results for all involved. So that's fantastic. Thanks for your time there this morning, Sean. For the remainder of the session, we have 4 of our talented staff members on board to answer any of your questions. So we're going to open it up to those 4, so please post any questions as they come to mind. The panel this morning includes Craig Cochran, our Supply Chain South Senior Manager, Warwick Smith, our Regional Operations Manager for Southern, Tim McCall, our Area Manager for the Cunningar area, and Phil Gay, the local grain marketer for Cunningar, Wyalong and Parkes regions. I'll kick off with Tim. Tim, we heard there from your local site managers, and it's really pleasing to see some familiar faces among them. But can you just give us a recap on what sites will be storing canola this coming harvest?
Yeah, no problem, Izzy. This year we'll be receiving canola at Cowra, GrainCorp, Maimaroo, Cunningar and Cootamundra.
Lovely. Thanks, Tim. It sounds like there's plenty of options there for the growers on both wheat and canola this coming harvest. Now, I'll go across to Warwick. We've heard that in the media that there's plenty of concerns in regards to staffing and labour across the ag industry due to COVID. How's GrainCorp going with recruiting staff this harvest?
Yeah, not a problem, Izzy, and yeah, good morning to all the growers online. Look, this is something that certainly has had a bit of media, and GrainCorp certainly been working very hard over the last really 6 months trying to prepare for the harvest with getting enough staff to help us support to bring in the harvest on the entire East Coast. As Sean indicated earlier, we generally are needing just over 3,000 harvest casuals to support our permanent staff to bring in the crop. We've been on track with that really, really well across the entire network. There are some little gaps here and there. Closer to home on the southern New South Wales region, we require about 800 casuals, which we're very, very close to sort of attaining that number, which has been pleasing. A few little labourer positions still here and there in some spots, but we're confident we should be able to fill those gaps and be able to obviously provide the service that's going to be required for this very good harvest. So I'll let Tim talk more specific to the Cunningar cluster, but obviously we did hear that Steve White, one of the site managers, mentioned they're in a pretty good position with their staffing arrangements, which is great to hear. Thanks, Izzy.
Brilliant. Thanks, Woz. I'll throw across to Tim to give us a bit more of a localised update as to what's happening with people.
Yeah, thanks, Izzy. Yeah, we're tracking across the whole area. We're tracking at about 92% recruited. So in the northern part of the area, we're about 100%. We're just chasing a few labourers at our Cunningar site. So if any of you growers know any people that might want some harvest work this year, just please get them to go onto the GrainCorp website and select careers, harvest recruitment, and follow the prompts.
Lovely. Thanks, Tim. And that's probably a good segue. Talking about people and resources, I've got a question here from Richard. Richard would like to know, will silos remain open for late deliveries of canola that will be harvested late due to direct heading? Can you just give us an update on that for us, please, Tim?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. That won't be a problem. All I would say is just remain in contact with your local site supervisor, and we should be able to accommodate you.
Lovely. Thanks for that question, Richard. Now, I've got another one in here from Mel. Is Harden going to be open there, Tim?
Yes, we'll be receiving canola at both Cunningar site and Harden site this year.
Lovely. Thanks for that update, Tim. Now, I'll go across to Craig. We've heard there from Woz and Tim that we're doing quite well in the people front. How are we going with equipment and the actual physical resources of making sure we've got enough equipment on site to receive this harvest in southern New South Wales?
Thanks, Izzy, and good morning all. Look, this crop has enormous potential, and we started planning for it way back in March when we saw the massive plant that went in. And when you look at the harvest challenges that we planned for, you throw a COVID pandemic on top of it, and you get a pretty challenging planning phase for our business. But we've locked down our plans now. We've got a lot of contingency plans in place, and we're very confident that we can execute the harvest. Supporting these plans, our business spent over $15 million in the last 6 months on new tarps, 21 additional stackers, and 400 tonne an hour drive over hoppers. So we've got more gear than we've ever actually had before. On top of that, our stacker movement plans have already started, moving our stacker gear from Queensland down into southern New South Wales at the end of the week. So, Izzy, all in all, we're very confident that we've got the right amount of gear and the plan in place to execute the big crop coming at us.
Brilliant. That's great to hear that we've both got the people side of things organised, but we've also got the gear side of things organised prior to harvest. That's fantastic. Now, as we heard from Sean, the business has been really busy getting ready for harvest, but part of that harvest readiness has been ensuring that we've got a COVID plan in place to maintain your safety, but also our site safety, our site staff safety. So I'll go across to Woz to do a bit of a deep dive into what is our COVID plan and some of the changes that we've had to make for this coming harvest.
Yeah, not a problem, Izzy. Obviously, COVID's something that the entire world's been dealing with since March, and obviously GrainCorp's, we're no different to that. So obviously, when this all occurred, we changed the way that we were doing our business, like a lot of businesses did. So our outload program, whether it was with road or rail at our ports, we certainly switched to being more contactless and removing any unnecessary contact with, truck drivers, train drivers, these types of things. So we've been doing that very successful all year, and it's been a pretty big outload program, particularly down in Victoria. So things have been tracking well in that space. So obviously we started planning for the harvest and how we were going to obviously, create a service and maintain a contactless system during the harvest period. So basically, a revised delivery process across our East Coast network has been developed to reduce human contact, allowing almost all delivery functions to be contact-free while maintaining our commitment to quality service. GrainCorp's advanced contact-free technology platforms, such as Fastway for grain sampling and receival, and Crop Connect for digital transactions, are central to the revised plan, and as are the changes to existing practices. So the following processes are effective immediately in all GrainCorp receival sites. There's 4 key points. So the first one is minimise movement of all GrainCorp staff and customers at all times. So this includes, but not limited to, no access inside our sample stands and weigh bridges. We are particularly aiming to minimise movement of truck drivers on our sites. Social distancing and hygiene measures will be enforced as standard practice at all sites. Along with all drivers and growers required to scan in via QR code, we will also have a manual handwritten for people to sign in as well if you don't have a phone or for some reason that doesn't work at the sample stand. And then again, we'll require that again as the truck tears off at the weigh bridge. The second point, and this is a really important one that's been introduced, the use of an updated delivery advice form. Our updated delivery advice form will assist with reducing the contact between GrainCorp staff and our growers and truck drivers. Also, the process will increase the efficiencies at our sample stands. The delivery advice form must be used for every, every delivered load to site and every sample to be tested at site. Samples will need to be provided in a GrainCorp Ziploc bag. We will test the samples and can call or text you with the results. Please note, though, the delivery advice will not be returned. The third point is the no option to select cash or transfer grain to contracts at sample stands or weigh bridges this harvest. All deliveries will be placed into warehousing and transferred via Crop Connect or our grower hotline 1800 grains. We will still collect NGR, pack details, treatment status and vendor decks at sample stand and weigh bridge and maintain active live prices at all our sites. And the fourth point is the no transfer of clipboards around the site with drivers. Any paperwork required will not be handed back or signed. The size of the text on the paperwork will be increased to assist in reading from a distance, and we'll go into more detail how that looks. Please, if you have any questions or anything regarding this, please, obviously contact your local site manager or grain marketer, or call the grower hotline, as I said before, on 1-800-GRAINS. Thanks, Izzy.
Lovely. Thanks for that. We might just take a moment just to have a look at the COVID flowchart, just so we can get a visual understanding of what those changes actually mean as we move around the site.
Yeah, not a problem. So, yeah, you can see the flow chart there. So basically I'll work on the delivery process. So obviously very, very similar to how it normally happens. You're going to arrive at the sample stand, obviously, hopefully with your delivery advice already filled out, and you can obviously place it in the bucket or on a clip, which the sample stand staff can quickly pull up and then start processing your load as quick as possible. You'll move forward, hop out of your truck, come back to the sample stand. We will have obviously the QR code or the manual signing in forms either at the steps or just up the top of the steps. It will depend on certain sample stand arrangements. We don't have all the same sample stands. So we'll ask you to sign in, and then obviously our friendly staff, the assessors, will present you with the receival docket once your sample is completed. You can then you'll grab that back into your truck, head up to the weighbridge. As you can see on the flow chart there, that the receival docket has the enlarged writing at the bottom for all the key information that our weighbridge staff will require. So you just have to place it up against the window of the truck, or just hang it out a little bit. They can obviously see it very, very clearly: truck rego, NGR, date, time, things like that. They'll process that. You'll move on to the required receival hopper. Once again, you'll obviously put your receival docket back out the window to show the hopper attendant that you're in the right position and at the right place, which I'm sure will happen. And then obviously they'll tip you off. You'll come back around to tear back off and obviously present with your receival docket again. The process will be completed. Obviously, we want you to scan back out again there, so obviously we know that you've left the site. And the weighbridge will obviously print you off a couple of dockets as well. So you will still receive a couple of paper receival dockets at the end. So obviously you've got for your own records as well. That's basically it, Izzy.
Lovely. Thanks for that update. Now, I've got a question coming here from Mel. As you outlined there, growers are required to provide the grower delivery advice form when delivering and doing their samples. Can you just explain this form in a little bit more detail, and where do growers get those delivery forms from?
Yeah, not a problem. Been a pretty popular question, this one, Mel, so good one to ask. Basically, obviously, you can jump on our GrainCorp website and follow those links to where the new harvest advice is. It can be pre-populated, so I really do encourage you to probably jump on and obviously things like your trading name, your NGR, maybe your truck rego, these types of things, your truck code, which mightn't change throughout the harvest too much, to obviously pre-populate that before you start printing them off to make it a little bit easier for the grower. If you don't have access to any sort of website or you've got some connectivity issues, please call our grower hotline number 1-800-GRAINS, and the friendly team in Wagga will certainly help you and be able to send you out some dockets. We also will have them on site, so if someone does obviously arrive without the docket, we will have some copies on site for people to fill out and present to us. But yeah, I suppose what we do encourage is to have them prior to that, to make the system flow as seamless as possible. We think it should actually increase the efficiency through our site if we can get everyone with the information ready to go as you come in. So there's a few options there, easy for the growers to obtain a delivery advice.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Woz. Now, Craig, I noticed there's a question there about barley, and it's applicable for the growers that are on the western side of this region. But can you just give us an update as to what that question in regards to in-crop glyphosate treatment is, and what growers need to be aware of there?
Thanks, Iz. So with in-crop treatment of glyphosate, it can affect the germination of the seed. So this treatment needs to be declared for both our internal and our domestic customers, so that we can ensure the quality of the product going to them. Treated barley will be binned and ticketed as feed barley, regardless of the test results, assuming that they are at least bar 1 quality. So we really need that declaration to be accurate, so that we know what's on your crop when it comes in, and then we can treat it accordingly.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Craig. I'll go across to Tim. We heard there that the delivery process is changing slightly, Tim. Has that affected how we do a retest and how growers request that retest?
Retests will be similar to previous years, Izzy. The driver of the truck can request a retest from outside the sample stand, and they've basically got two options. The first option is they can retest the existing sample that's in the bucket they've previously used, or they can request to do a reprobe. If they choose to do this, in a busy harvest, they may have to join the back of the queue.
Lovely. Thanks, Tim. What about sampling? So we heard there that when growers come in, they've got to do their QR codes, but where do they actually go when they bring their samples in, and what are they doing with them on these sites?
Yeah, so I've got an example here of a sample in a Ziploc bag with the delivery advice in it. So if the growers or drivers bringing in a sample, if they can bring them in a bag like this, would be great. Just plenty of samples so we can get a good representative sample. If they can just leave the sample outside the sample stand at the bottom of the stairs or at the top of the stairs, just outside, the sample stand attendant will then test your sample, and then we will contact you most likely via text message with your results as soon as we can.
Lovely. Thanks, Tim. Now, remember, if you've got any more questions, please utilise that chat feature and we'll get across them as we go. Now, we do have one here from John, and it's in regards to the Cunningham Levy. Are you able to tell us what the Cunningham Levy, so what the price is on that one, please?
Yeah, no worries, Izzy. It's $5 like it always has been, Izzy, and obviously will depend on how many tonnes come in. That could actually be reduced a little bit if we exceed where we're at. It can reduce down, but basically working on $5 per tonne. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Was. Now, I've had a question come in here, and it's if we are going contactless, how does the grower sell their grain on the weighbridge? I'll get Phil to give us an answer to this one.
Yeah, thanks, Izzy. Good morning, all. As Warwick alluded to before, part of the COVID plan is all grain is going to be placed into the warehouse this year. So our Crop Connect platform can then be utilised for complete transactions. The Crop Connect platform itself allows you to do a number of things. You can see your loads. You can see where a truck is on site. You can use it as a stock management tool. You can cache your loads, and also for contract management. Crop Connect also has accounting features, gives you the ability to see delivery summaries and also get RCTIs. There are also the options to set up notifications to send those load details straight to your phone when the truck's leaving the site, so you know what you're getting. Crop Connect's basically a one-stop shop. So I just can't emphasise enough, get on to Crop Connect, log in, make sure everything's working, have a look around. There's a number of YouTube videos out there. If you have any questions regarding it, don't hesitate to call that 1-800 number, 1-800-GRAIN, and speak to the guys in Wagga, and they will certainly just make sure that you've got everything. But that's where everything will be happening this year.
Lovely. Thanks, Phil. You mentioned there that grain will have to go into Crop Connect to do their sales. Can you just elaborate on what costs and other benefits are involved in this, please?
Yeah, no worries. There's no costs involved with Crop Connect. The only cost is your warehouse fees, which becomes applicable after the grace period ends. Last year we extended it to monthly delivery plus 2 months, and we're doing that again this year. So the main benefit of this is Croptimizer, and for those that don't know, that's our quality upgrade program, which is applicable to wheat and barley. To be eligible for that, you need to meet 3 key criteria. You need to meet certain parameters around screenings and protein. You need to have grower equity. What does that mean? You need to basically have delivered the higher grade previously, and then it comes down to the stack position and height. Sorry there, we just had I was getting a bit excited. Knocked my screen down, but with that you'll get a text message from the guys in Wagga that's saying that you're eligible, and then you just need to call that 1-800-GRAINS.
Brilliant. Thanks, Phil. Looks like we had a few technical issues there, mate, but we're back on track. What about payment options? So has GrainCorp got any flexibility on our payment options for this coming harvest?
Yeah, we certainly do. We've obviously got our industry-leading 2-day payments. And then for any contracted grain, we also offer deferred payments, July. So with that, currently, you get an additional $6 for canola. I think wheat's at 4 and barley's at 3. So just don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a buzz there. Then we've also got our Harvest 10 pools program. There's a number of options there. There's the quarterly distribution. There's a harvest payment, which is basically 70% up front. And then we've also got the deferred payment there. So there is a number of options, which is good. But happy to have that chat.
Lovely. Thanks, Phil. It sounds like there's plenty of flexibility there for growers that are looking for different payment terms outside of the standard 2 days. Now, I've got an audience question come in from Jeremy. It looks like the sites are ready to receive the grain this harvest. Is the business also ready for the export program across the East Coast? I'll get Craig to give us an update on what's happening down at our ports.
Thanks, Izzy. Look, we've been very, very lucky. The industry has really supported our shipping stem for this coming year. So we're going to be very, very busy out of Port Kembla. I was actually down there about 10 days ago, and the team are very excited that the terminal is going to be operating the way that it was intended, with trains coming in and boats going out, whereas we've had the reverse supply chain recently. Very excited. What they're doing at the moment is they're actually detail cleaning our flow paths and our bins, and giving our shiploaders a birthday. Obviously, they haven't been used for 2 years, so getting them set and ready to roll. I'm very sure that down there at the port, they're going to be ready to export what's coming at them. Similarly to upcountry, we're actually lifting our numbers and training some extra staff up, so that we can have the ability down there to be able to run 24/7 when it's required to execute the vessels for our customers. So very exciting to see the export program kick off in December.
Brilliant. That's great news. And I'm really pleased to hear that our shiploaders get a birthday every year as well, Craig. Now, Phil, with that large export program, do we have options for growers to go down direct to Port Kembla post-harvest?
Yeah, Izzy, we certainly do. We have the option to deliver straight down into Port Kembla. And that's also with our industry-leading 2-day payments. So, feel free to give me a buzz and have a chat about that. And if you're storing your grain on farm for harvest logistics reasons, and looking at that post-harvest delivery, we're looking at and might have the option of delivering into some of our sites post-harvest. So, that's pretty exciting.
Brilliant. And that's great to hear that we can do 2-day payments on a delivered port contract, which is a industry-leading program there, Phil. Now, I've got a question here, Phil, from Owen, and he would like to know about the canola sustainability changes and what's been happening in that space. Can you give us an update on that, please?
Yeah, no worries, Owen. It's a question we're getting a lot. Basically, 7 of the major exporters and NGR have come together to make the canola sustainability program. It's for all parties easier. The general guidelines of the program are similar to the previous programs, but now you as the grower complete one form with NGR, and that covers all 7 of those exporters. If you are growing canola, I suggest that you contact NGR for further information on the program and complete the declaration, as this will need to be done to ensure that you're paid that premium price. So the price you are seeing on our daily emails is for sustainable canola. If you don't wish to be part of that program, we are able to price that up on application, but just suggest get in contact with NGR and they'll answer any questions that you've got.
Brilliant. Thanks for that question. Now, Phil, I've heard a number of times throughout the session about 1-800 grains. This is a little bit of a new number for GrainCorp. Can you just give me an understanding of where this number is located and some of the services it will provide for growers this coming harvest?
Yeah, no worries. So one of the feedbacks we've got from growers in the past is that they never knew who to speak to. So we've come up with 1-800 grains, and basically that's From Dubbo South, you'll be serviced out of the guys in Wagga, and for the northern growers, there's an office based in Tamworth. So we've got 3 permanent staff there in Wagga, which will service anything from the transferring the title of your grain, helping you with Crop Connect issues, receival amendments. That team at the moment is building as the harvest starts to come in, and we expect over 20 people in that team. So the exciting thing is you're speaking to someone pretty local, which is good. So it's just your one-stop shop. You don't know who to call, ring that number.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Phil. Now, we are starting to get closer to the end of this webinar, so if you do have any more questions, I do urge that you put them up on the chat feature and we'll answer them off before we finish. Now, Craig, we've covered off a large array of topics in a very short space of time. Can you just give me a recap on some of the key messages that we've gone across, please?
No worries at all, Liz. Look, the key messages that I took from the session, the major change this year for harvest is around our COVID plan, in that our sites are going to be going as contactless as possible. Delivery advice forms are required for both samples and deliveries, and all grain will be automatically placed in warehouse. You can then utilise Crop Connect to complete transfers to contract, cash, pools, as well as place offers, view your invoices and manage your notifications. I would also suggest that you check your personal details with NGR and prior to harvest and complete the Canola Sustainability Declaration if you wish.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Craig. Now, prior to wrapping up the session, I just want to go back around the team and just get any of their final thoughts. I'll kick this off with Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Izzy. No, I just wanted to wish everyone the best for the harvest. Just a friendly reminder, anyone who comes on site, growers or drivers, just make sure they're wearing their PPE, which includes high-vis vests, glasses and ankle-high boots. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks for that reminder, Tim. I'll go across to Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Izzy. No, pretty exciting for everyone. Hopefully this rain event comes across this weekend and growers get something just to help maintain and fulfil the yield potential. Very exciting. Any issues, just don't hesitate to call. Just escalate any issues. Just speak to your site managers when you're thinking that you might need to go a bit later or what's happening, and any other issues with Crop Connect. As I said, 1-800-GRAINS is your go-to.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Phil. What about yourself there, Was?
Yeah, no worries, Izzy. Just obviously like to wish all the growers a very safe and successful harvest. It's great to have the promising season this year, which will be great. Just to reinforce some of the comments there before, really keep in touch, really encourage everyone to keep in touch with their local site manager, particularly if you're about to begin or start harvesting. A day or two would be great to know that you might be coming in. The team will be ready, obviously, but always good to know and have a little bit of a heads up. But wish everyone the very best and look forward to getting up near the Cunningar area in the coming weeks when things start kicking off with the canola maybe. So best of luck to everyone. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Was. And it's probably a pretty timely reminder that if you're not getting the GrainCorp comms, so that's the site SMSs, our pricing SMSs, but also our weekly newsletter, please feel free to ring the 1-800-GRAINS number and they'll sort you out and they'll put you on those lists. And last but not least, I'll go across to Craig.
Thanks, Iz. Look, the question there from Mal about the delivery books for drivers. Obviously, we've got the delivery advices on the website. You can pre-populate it and then download it, or we will actually have some on our sites. So if you talk to your site manager, they'll be able to organise them for you before harvest. Hopefully, they'll be out there by the end of the week. For me, in summary, really excited about the crop. I think they were as well planned as we've ever been. We've got more gear than we ever had. So hopefully we're going to get out there and execute this high potential crop safely and successfully, and hopefully we'll get out there and see you all soon.
Lovely. Thanks, Craig. Prior to wrapping up, we've just got a couple of questions that are here. I've got one from Brenton. Can we view webinars from different clusters if we deliver and farm in those regions? Are these recorded to watch later on? I'll get Phil to answer this one for us.
Yeah, Brenton, we certainly have these available. So you remember the number, 1-800-GRAINS, give them the buzz and they'll be able to forward it to you, mate.
Very good. Thanks, Phil. Now, that concludes our webinar for this morning, and hopefully this session has provided you with some knowledge of what GrainCorp is doing this harvest to ensure your safety, the safety of your community, and also the safety of our staff. I thank you all for your time this morning and also the questions that you've posted, and I wish you all the very best for harvest.